Dr. Venn had been studying human tissue samples for 6 months, when they discovered something that violated every principle of biology they'd been taught. Human scars remember. Not metaphorically. Literally. At the molecular level, human scar tissue contains information, encoded data, written into the cellular structure during healing, and preserved permanently. The scar remembers the angle of the blade that cut it, the depth of penetration, the type of metal, even. And this is what made Venn's analysis tentacles freeze: the emotional state of the human at the moment of injury. Fear. The 3-year-old scar whispered. The human had been afraid. This should not exist. Venn recalibrated their instruments, certain there was an error. The readings remained consistent. They pulled samples from 46 other human subjects, examined every healed wound under the same analysis protocol. The pattern repeated. Again. And again. And again. Every human scar carried a biological record of the trauma that created it. Still readable. Still active. Years. Sometimes decades after the wound had closed. Subject 12. Burned scar on right hand. 7 years old. The tissue remembered heat. Remembered the flash of pain. Remembered recoiling from flame. Subject 23. Surgical incision. 12 years old. The tissue remembered anesthesia. Remembered being cut deliberately by someone trying to help, not harm. Subject 39. Compound fracture. The bone remembered snapping. Remembered the grinding sensation of fragments. Remembered months of reconstruction. Every scar was an archive. And Venn was the first xenobiologist in galactic history to learn how to read them. They searched the Galactic Medical Database, looking for any other species with similar scarring patterns. Kelthrans? Perfect regeneration. New tissue genetically identical to the original. No scarring. No records. Clean restoration. Verwenen? Seamless repair. No trace that damage ever occurred. Efficient. Flawless. Thessions? Could regrow entire limbs. The replacement indistinguishable from the original. Every uplifted species followed the same design philosophy. Healing meant restoration. Return to factory settings. Erase the damage as if it never happened. But humans? Humans kept receipts. Permanent. Detailed. Biologically encoded receipts of every wound they'd survived. Their bodies remembered. Because their bodies assumed they would need to remember. And that assumption, Venn was beginning to realize with growing dread, was not paranoia. It was pattern recognition. Venn requested full medical histories, correlating visible scars with documented injuries, building a database of human damage and recovery. What they found made them question everything they understood about healing. A construction worker, 43 years old, covered in scars, dozens of them, each one readable like words on a page. Left shin. Childhood bicycle accident. Age 7. The bone remembered being broken. But more than that. The healed area was denser now. Reinforced. Stronger than the surrounding skeleton. Right shoulder. Industrial accident. Age 29. Crushed under falling equipment. The tissue had been rebuilt with enhanced collagen structures, better able to distribute weight, to resist compression. Hands. Dozens of tiny scars. Each one a lesson. Burns that had taught the skin to resist heat. Cuts that had made the flesh tougher. Abrasions that had thickened the outer layers. The human didn't just remember their injuries. They had upgraded their defenses based on what had attacked them. Every scar was not just a record. It was armor. Biological armor. Grown in response to violence. designed to ensure that specific injury could never happen the same way twice. Venn ran the numbers. A chef's burned fingertips. Rebuilt with tissue 37% more heat-resistant than baseline human skin. A soldier's shrapnel scars. Reinforced with collagen structures 23% denser than surrounding tissue. An athlete's torn ligaments. Healed 41% stronger than the original connective tissue. The pattern was consistent across every sample. Humans did not heal by restoring the original structure. They healed by building something better. Something specifically designed to resist whatever had damaged them. As if their bodies assumed. No. As if their bodies knew with absolute certainty that whatever hurt them once would try again. And they intended to be ready. This was not healing. This was learning. Active. Aggressive. Paranoid learning. Encoded in flesh. Venn pulled Earth's evolutionary history, trying to understand what kind of world would produce this response. The data was worse than anticipated. Earth. Category 4 Death World. The highest danger classification. But Venn had never truly understood what that meant until now. It meant a planet where 99.9% of all species that ever existed had gone extinct. It meant 5 mass extinction events, where more than 75% of all life died, and survivors had to start over, in a world that had just proven it could end everything. It meant predators that evolved to hunt in packs, using tactics, strategy, persistence. It meant prey that evolved weapons, poisons, armor, anything to survive one more generation. It meant diseases that killed millions, and the survivors passed resistance to their children. It meant ice ages, droughts, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts, supervolcano eruptions. It meant 4 billion years of the universe trying to sterilize that planet. And failing. Because the things that survived on Earth did not survive by being lucky. They survived by learning. And humans had learned better than anything else. Their bodies assumed injury was not an exception. It was inevitability. So they prepared. Every time. Without conscious thought. Without choice. If you survived being cut, your body reinforced that location. Because the blade was still out there. If you survived being burned, your skin toughened. Because fire was still a threat. If you survived being crushed, your bones grew denser. Because gravity never stopped trying. Survival was not victory. Survival was a warning. That the test would come again. Soon. Venn presented their findings to the Galactic Medical Consortium 3 weeks later. The presentation lasted 47 minutes. The silence that followed lasted longer. Finally, the board chair, a Vierwennen physician with 6 centuries of experience, spoke. You are telling us that humans cannot heal without their bodies preparing for the next attack? I am telling you, Venn said carefully, that human healing is not restoration. It is preparation. Every scar is both a memory and a prediction. The body remembers what hurt it, and modifies itself to resist that specific threat in the future. A Thesan board member shifted uncomfortably. This is paranoid biology. A species whose own cells do not trust peace to last. No. Venn corrected quietly. This is realistic biology. From a species whose cells have 4 billion years of evidence that peace never lasts, and have adapted accordingly. Another pause. Then the question Venn had been dreading. What are the implications? Venn took a breath. It means that every human carries a permanent biological record of every significant injury they have survived. Written into their flesh. Readable. Permanent. It means that human bodies do not heal by returning to baseline. They heal by upgrading defenses based on whatever attacked them. It means that the longer a human lives, the more injuries they survive, the harder they become to injure in the same way again. It means that humans do not become more fragile with age and injury. They become more resistant. And it means, Venn paused, that every visible scar on a human body is proof of survival against something that would have killed any uplifted species, and is now a hardened defense against that same threat. The board chair leaned back. How many scars does the average adult human carry? Venn had done the calculation. Visible scars? Between 15 and 40, depending on occupation and lifestyle. And invisible scars? Healed injuries that left no external mark? Hundreds. Every human past adolescence carries hundreds of micro-injuries, healed and reinforced. Bones that fractured and regrew stronger. Muscles that tore and rebuilt with more fibers. Skin that abraded and toughened. Most are invisible. But all are remembered. All modified the structure. The implications settled over the room like a weight. So every human we see, the Theshan said slowly, is actually armored by their own history of survival? Yes. Venn confirmed. And the armor is custom-built, tailored to defend against the specific threats that individual has already survived. No two humans are armored the same way, because no two humans have survived the same sequence of injuries. Someone whispered, "That's horrifying." Venn wasn't sure if they meant the biology, or what it implied about Earth. The medical consortium classified Venn's research immediately. Restricted to medical professionals only. Not for public release. Not for civilian discussion. The reasoning was never stated explicitly. But Venn understood. If other species knew what human scars truly represented, if they realized every visible mark was proof of survival and adaptation, if they understood that humans literally could not heal without assuming violence would return, it would change how humans were perceived. Not as peers. As survivors of something the rest of the galaxy had been protected from. As beings whose bodies could not conceive of safety. As a species shaped by a world so hostile that even their healing process was a form of combat preparation. Because on Earth, the universe was not kind. And anything that survived there long enough to reach the stars carried the evidence written on their skin. In scars that remembered. And learned. And waited for the next attack. Late at night, Venn could not stop thinking about one sample. Subject 47. The one that had started everything. A minor kitchen accident. Cutting vegetables. Knife slipped. 4 stitches. Healed cleanly. Completely mundane. And yet, the scar had reinforced. Just slightly. Just enough. So that if a blade struck that exact spot again, it would penetrate less deeply. Over a kitchen accident. 4 stitches. And the human body had said, "This will not happen again. Not here. Not the same way. I am ready now." That was what disturbed Venn most. Not the major injuries. The compound fractures. The burns. The surgery scars. Those made sense. But this? This casual, automatic, unconscious assumption that even a minor cut while making dinner was a threat worth remembering, worth armoring against. It meant that human bodies trusted nothing. Not even peace. Not even safety. Not even home. Because somewhere in their cells, in their genes, in their evolutionary memory, they knew. Safety was temporary. Peace was an intermission. And anything that cut you once would try again. So you had better be ready. Always. 3 months later. Subject 47 requested to meet. The human sat across from Ven. Arms bare. Scars visible. A roadmap of survival. I heard you've been studying why we scar. Direct. As humans were. Yes. Ven confirmed. Your healing patterns are unique. The human looked at their forearm. At the small kitchen knife scar. Did you figure it out? We believe. Ven chose words carefully. That human scars serve as biological records. And as adaptive reinforcement. Your bodies remember damage. And modify tissue to prevent similar injury in the future. The human nodded. Unsurprised. My grandfather used to say. They spoke quietly. Scars are proof that you survived. That the world tried to break you. And failed. They traced the kitchen scar. This one's from being careless. Stupid accident. They moved to their upper arm. This one's from a car crash. Shouldn't have lived. Did anyway. They lifted their shirt. Revealing surgical scars. These are from emergency surgery. Touch and go for a while. They met Ven's eyes. Every scar is a story. And every story ends the same way. But I'm still here. Ven found no words. The human continued. You want to know why our bodies remember? Why we armor where we've been cut? Why we can't heal without learning? Ven nodded. The human's expression was ancient. Tired. Knowing. Because Earth doesn't give second chances. It gives second attempts. Whatever hurt you once is still out there. Still hunting. Still waiting. And it will try again. So you'd better be ready. They stood. Preparing to leave. Then paused at the door. We don't scar because we're broken. We scar because we're still in the fight. And our bodies know. The fight never ends. Ven alone with their thoughts, after the human left. Ven sat motionless for a long time. Understanding crystallizing. The uplifted species healed cleanly. Because the architects had designed them for a safe universe. Where injury was rare. Where healing could be about restoration. Not preparation. But humans had evolved in an unsafe universe. One that gave no guarantees. One where survival today meant nothing about tomorrow. So they adapted. And every scar was proof. Not of weakness. Of refusal. The world tried to end me here. The scar said. And I did not allow it. And I am stronger now in this exact spot. Because I refused to let it happen the same way twice. That was what human scars truly meant. Not damage. Defiance. Written in flesh. Permanent. Eternal. A message to everything that had ever hurt them. Try again. I dare you. I am ready now. Ven submitted their final report 6 months after the initial discovery. 300 pages. 12,000 subjects analyzed. One conclusion. Undeniable. Humans are a species whose bodies cannot conceive of permanent safety. This is not a flaw. This is the result of 4 billion years on a world that never stopped testing them. They passed every test. By remembering. By learning. By scarring. And every scar made them harder to kill. Until they became very hard to kill indeed. The report was classified immediately. Filed in restricted archives. Where it remains. Unread by most. But known to those who need to know. That humans are different. Not because they are stronger. Not because they are tougher. But because they are scarred. And every scar is a lesson. And every lesson is remembered. And after 4 billion years of lessons, humanity had learned very well. There is a human saying. Ancient. carved on monuments and whispered in dark times. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Venn had always thought it was metaphor. It was not. It was biology. Documented. Measurable. Literal biology. Human bodies take damage. Analyze it. And rebuild stronger in that exact location. Because they assume the damage will come again. That which does not kill them literally makes them stronger. In the place where they were struck. Every time. Without exception. For 4 billion years. And the scars remain. Permanent warnings. Written on human skin. The message always the same. I survived this. It made me stronger here. And if you try again, you will find me ready. Venn kept one sample. Subject 47. The kitchen knife scar. The mundane one. The one that should not have mattered. It sits in their private laboratory still. Preserved. And sometimes, late at night, Venn examines it. And reads what the scar tissue remembers. 4 stitches worth of damage. And the human body said, never again. Not here. Not the same way. I am ready. And rebuilt accordingly. That is what it means to be human. To heal with memory. To scar with purpose. To carry proof of survival on your skin. And to have a body that trusts nothing. Assumes violence will return. And prepares accordingly. Every time. Without fail. Until the whole species became a living monument to one principle. The only way to survive Earth is to remember everything that tried to kill you. And never, ever, let it happen the same way twice. There is a reason humans reached the stars. Not because they were given technology. Not because they were uplifted. Not because anyone helped them. But because their bodies learned to turn damage into armor. Injury into adaptation. Scars into strength. And after 4 billion years of that, they became something that could not be stopped. By predators. By disease. By extinction events. By anything. Because every time the universe tried to kill them, the survivors remembered. And built defenses. And passed those defenses to their children. Generation after generation. Scar after scar. Lesson after lesson. Until humanity became a species. Whose bodies were weapons. Forged in violence. Tempered by survival. And covered. Absolutely covered. In proof. That they had won. Every time. Sound, single heartbeat. Stronger than before. Continuing. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. We share stories about resilience and the human spirit every week. Drop a comment. What scar made you who you are today? Physical or emotional, we all carry something. Check the playlist below for more stories like this. Remember, your scars don't define your weakness. They prove your strength. They're proof you survived. Until next time, carry your scars with pride.